Hey everyone, welcome to the MT Jewelers watch vlog. Tonight we are going to focus on this 1970 Omega Seamaster caliber 564 chronometer watch. So I'll just give you a little bit of history on the watch before we start talking about the actual particulars. Omega released the Seamaster into the Omega range in 1952. Sometime after that, Omega split the Seamaster range. They offered a base model, which was a plain Seamaster, ultimately a sports watch without any chronometer certification. And then they released a Constellation, which was thought to be a slightly higher end movement. It did have the chronometer certification, but it did mean that there was not many Seamaster chronometers like this one made, so it does make it slightly more desirable than maybe some of the base range Seamasters or the Constellation Seamasters. So the externals of the watch, it's a 35mm case made in stainless steel, sits very nice on the wrist, not too thick. This particular one is unpolished, meaning that we've not had it polished when we bought it in. We like to try and keep all of our watches in original condition if we can. This one certainly does have a few wearer's marks on it, but for 1970 it's what we would say is in good condition. So if we take a look at the dial next, it is a circular brushed silver dial. It's got the baton hour markers on it. They are silver inlaid with onyx. It's got the date window that's got a nice little outline of silver on that as well. It's got the original black painted hands. The second hand is also original, so again, when we buy watches in, we like to try and make sure, if we can, that all the parts are original. And if we just flip it on the side, it has also got its original Omega crown there as well. So I'd like to talk a little bit more about the actual internals of this watch, the movement. As I stated on the introduction, it is an Omega caliber 564 chronometer. It's an automatic movement, and I'll come to that a little bit later in the description for you. What's quite nice about this watch is in the 60s and 70s, Omega made their own watch movements. A little bit later on in Omega's career, they did actually outsource the movements. They used a ETA or ETA movement, but this particular one is an original Omega made one. So as I said, it's an automatic movement. What that means for those that don't know is it's a mechanical watch. It contains no batteries. You can wind it by using the winder like most mechanical, either manual or automatic watches. But on the inside of the movement in the back there is an automatic rotor, which means that it does gather kinetic energy from the wearer's movements. So should you use this watch for daily use, you shouldn't have to wind it yourself. It will keep its own motivation and keep itself running. It's got a 50-hour power reserve, which means that once the watch is fully wound, if you weren't to wear it, it will keep running for 50 hours. Something interesting about this movement as well is it's what's called a quick set movement. So on some watches you have to wind the hands round 24 hours in order to get the date to change. On this particular watch, if you pull the crown out to its second position and then pull it out to its third, you'll see that the date changes automatically. So it's a nice little feature about this watch. So let's talk a little bit more about what defines this Seamaster over some of the non-chronometer. So as I'm sure you can see, the word chronometer is written under automatic underneath Omega. In order for a watch to be classed as a chronometer, it does mean that it's had to go through a very thorough and stringent test. It had to have certain tolerances and certain precision, normally meaning that the movements are more complicated, they're more precise, and therefore they are a little bit more desirable. So that's what makes this watch stand out compared to some of your non-chronometer Seamasters. Again, it makes it slightly more desirable. So that wraps up our vlog for this evening. I hope you've enjoyed learning a little bit more about this 1970 Omega Seamaster Chronometer caliber 564.